You know, I have a lot of fears. I'm a pretty paranoid person, but one thing that always hits me harder than anything else is the fear of death. I'm always constantly thinking about when I'm gonna die, how I'm gonna die, and what's gonna happen after I die. It sometimes makes it harder to enjoy life. I'll be doing something and then I'll get like a weird feeling in my chest and I'll be like, oh fuck, this is it. I'm gonna die now. And I'll see on the internet people always talking about that, like it's a common occurrence that happens with other people too. It makes me feel not so strange for having those little fears. Uh, but that's basically what I wanted to talk about today. How's it going? My name's Caleb, and welcome to my little online journal. Um, Last time I talked about nostalgia and things from your past. And this is kind of in a similar vein at that, with fears and death and all of that shit. I think that's one reason why people go back in time and do things they did when they were a kid, because they're scared of the future. They're scared of dying. They want to go back to when they had a lot more life left to live. And I'm only 22 years old. I theoretically have a lot of time left, I hope. But it still, still scares me. I mean, you see all these kids dying, early 20s or even teenagers and younger, they just die. Something terrible happens, like school shootings and, drug overdose, all of those things that happens to a myriad of people around my demographic. And it's hard to see that stuff happen and not think, you could just be in the wrong place at the wrong time one day and you just, you cease to exist. I think the worst part of my fear would have to be how it hinders me from enjoying things in life. I'll be scared of doing things because they might be dangerous, or I'll be scared of doing things because, I don't know, you never know. You go outside and get hit by a fucking car. And like one thing I have a really terrible fear of cars. I don't have my driver's license. I'm 22. I should have it. And I want it, I just am lazy as fuck, so, But I am afraid of being in a car, driving a car, being in traffic. It gives me this anxiety that not a lot of things give me. Because you never know, just in the wrong place and bam, a fucking 16-wheeler tears apart you and your family's four-door fucking SUV. You never know. That shit happens all the time. When I was younger, I got into a really bad car accident, and miraculously, everyone was fine. Our car flipped multiple times, and it was me, my little sister, and my mother, and miraculously, everyone was okay. But that's pretty scary. So I get this. I have to grapple with my fear of death pretty often. I'm always like, I could die. I'm in a relationship right now, and my girlfriend is not the best driver. So being in the car with her is extremely anxiety-inducing. It's scary. But, you get used to it at some point. And I think that can be said about a lot of your fears, even in the subsidiaries of your fears, like, oh, I'm scared of death, but that makes me scared of being in a car, because I'm scared of dying in the car. I think getting exposure therapy, I think is what it's called, exposing yourself to those fears, often you're like, this is nothing, Of course, that could be good and bad. I'm sure there are people that expose themselves to their fears and it only heightens them. But I don't know. just a little food for thought, I think. I had a different thing I was thinking of. Oh, right. Okay. Uh, I think one of the reasons why I'm so scared of death is because uh, I I was born with heart issues, pretty severe heart issues. Um, dude, this happened last time. Fucking Discord notification in the middle of my recording. Um, but I was born with heart issues, so I'm in and out of hospitals all the time, and being around hospitals and just sick people, it's it does something to your brain. I think you sit there and you see sick people all around you, old people, young kids that are in similar situations to what I was in. And it's, I don't know, it makes life seem a lot more fragile than, I guess, everyday life will let it seem. Not that that's, I don't know if that's a bad thing or not. I was going to say not that that's a bad thing, but I don't know if me even saying that makes it seem like a bad thing. I don't know if it's a bad thing or not. Maybe it's a good thing. You learn to appreciate the little things a bit more. Or I'm sure other people, they have different experiences with it. I don't know. But growing up, going in and out of the hospital, not everyone always saying things like, "Oh my God, I'm glad you're okay and you made it through that." Um, it. Whenever I was a kid, I didn't really see so much into it. But when like I dealt with family dying or my friends who have passed away, it put it in a whole new perspective. Where I was like, oh, these people are saying this because it is possible for me to not be here anymore. And as I've exposed myself to more people, and those people go away, or terrible things happen, I see that more. I don't know. Are you guys afraid of death? Am I crazy? I know I've seen like some things of people talking about death and how to not be scared of it. And sometimes in moments I can take their perspective, and I'll be like, well, you're here and then you're not. Why am I scared of something I can't experience? But I think it's because I can't experience it, and I'm not. I think that's another thing to point out too. Religion, I think, puts a big spin on people being afraid of death. Christians, I notice they're not as afraid of death, or they're more inviting to it. I have a pretty Christian family, not my immediate family, but my grandparents and things like that. Very Christian folk. Your normal Christian, everyday Southern folk. Go to church every Wednesday and Sunday. But myself, I grew up doing that because that's what they wanted to do. But after that, I just didn't, it didn't really stick with me, religion. I've always liked religion. I read a lot of books on it. And I think it helps me sometimes whenever I think about dying. I think about what's going to happen when I die. And I don't believe anything happens, but the way that these people talk about dying makes it seem like not so bad of a concept. I guess what I really wanted to know is if you guys are afraid of it too, or if you ever think about that, or if you are religious people, how does that take into account how you view death? For me, it's a crippling fear. There have been times where I'll just sit there and I'll feel something weird in my throat, or I'll feel something weird in my chest, and I'll just be like, oh, yep, this is it. I'm going home. But, you know, obviously that's most likely not the case. Just, I can't help but think about it sometimes. I'm a very paranoid person also. You know, you hear a sound in the dark, or you hear a spooky story, some folklore, and you're like, oh, maybe there's some truth to that, you know? Freaks me out. But I think I'm just extremely anxious and have a little bit of paranoia. Not an abnormal amount to any degree. I just think it's something I've got. The same as any other person. I remember my friend telling me something one time. He told me that while we were in high school, we would do a lot of acid. I only did it a couple times because I had some crazy schizo moment, and I was like, no, I'm too paranoid for this shit. I can't do it. And he kept doing it. He did it one more time after me, not very long after. And he said he was hanging out with one of his friends, one of our mutual friends. And they opened up to him about being, like, super paranoid about so much stuff and, like, constantly thinking about, anxiety and how he deals with it. And my friend, he says to me, he said that he had never seen that side of this person. He saw him as an extremely confident individual who kind of wears his pride like a badge on him. But to see that side of him and see that, you know, even the people that you don't think have those anxious thoughts, they do have them, makes him feel easier whenever he has those anxious and paranoid. Is that even a word? Paranoid thoughts? Paranoiac? That doesn't sound like a word. Yeah, he said it gave him a whole new meaning to it. He was able to compartmentalize his paranoia and his anxiety after seeing that someone who, up till that point, he had never thought capable of it, had the same paranoia that he had. It made him realize everybody thinks that kind of stuff. So you're not weird for being afraid of whatever you're afraid of. I don't know. What do you guys think? What are your biggest fears? Do you have a crazy amount of paranoia? Are you an anxious person? Do you have a fear of death? How do you deal with death as a topic? Does it make you uncomfortable? I don't know. I just want to know all those things. Yeah, let me know. I'll talk to you guys later.